Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled people stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My fiance sold the expensive gift I got her. After that, ex-boyfriend insists I play a game he assumes he's better at. I complied. And after that, my wife embarrassed everyone during our son's birthday dinner. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to sell a gift someone got her. Not like you get me anything in the first place, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My fiance sold the expensive gift I got her. I, 28 male, and my fiance, 29 female, have been together for 3 years. There are many things that I love and adore about my fiance. She does have expensive taste and works to afford most of her clothes and jewelry. I work in IT for a state government agency. She works in her family's company and does work part-time. We equally pay for the bills, rent, and essentials. We are not planning on having an expensive wedding as we'd much rather save money to use on our honeymoon trip. My fiance's birthday was last weekend, and she has been asking me about this bracelet that will complete her set. The bracelet cost about $300, and I went to the store to purchase it for her. I bought her a nice card and gift wrapped the bracelet. We did a small celebration with a few of her friends, and she was very excited to receive the bracelet. She put it on and started showing it to her friends. I was browsing the marketplace when I saw the bracelet being sold for a little more. When I went to check the listing, she listed the bracelet for $500. I did confront her about the listing, and she got angry with me. She thinks that I was in the wrong for stalking her seller profile when I saw the listing appear when I refreshed the page. Am I the jerk for being mad at my fiance for selling an expensive gift? So she just got this item, which she had asked for to complete her set, and then turns around and immediately sells it? Wow, I'd be upset too. And yes, if you are linked to someone on a marketplace site, their stuff does show up for you to view. Not the jerk for being mad. Feelings are feelings. Her immediately accusing her partner of stalking her by viewing a page available to the public proves she knows it's wrong. Not the jerk. Well, if you choose to stay with her, you know only to give her unprofitable stuff, gift cards, personalized or engraved items, experiences, or cash. Not the jerk, because it honestly sounds like she asked for it just to sell it. She told you she needed it to complete a set, but then sells it single? She's not telling you the whole story here. Not the jerk. Normally, I would say that once a gift is received, it's up to the recipient to do what they want with it. However, in this case, it's really odd as you had just given it to her and she asked you for it. I could understand selling something if it wasn't to your taste. It would also be understandable if she said she wanted it specifically because she knew she could flip it for a profit. Instead, she's accusing you of stalking her. Clearly, she's hiding something from you, which is concerning. If there was a simple answer, she wouldn't be trying to turn this around and shift blame. Something is up, and you really need to talk it out with her, especially if this is atypical behavior on her part. OP. I bought her a nice pair of $150 boots that she wanted for the winter. I had not seen her wear them since they were purchased. I asked her where they went, and she said that her friend was borrowing them. It's really annoying. Something is definitely up. If she's having financial issues, you need to sort that out before you get married. She's definitely hiding something from you. At best, it's a shopping habit or a credit card debt, and at worst, it's something much worse. Either way, it's not good because she's lying to you. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. I wouldn't buy her anything from now on, bruh. She foul. Ex-boyfriend insists I play a game he assumes he's better at. I complied. Every once in a while, I think about this story while I'm idly playing Sudoku on my phone, and it makes me smile. I realized it's perfect malicious compliance / petty revenge material. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but some background is needed. A few years ago, when I was in grad school, I dated a man who was several years older than me who had just finished his master's at the same school, completely different program, but both in the realm of STEM, and started a company based on that work. He seemed to have a chip on his shoulder about the fact that he went back to school in his late 20s and the fact that I was in a PhD program. I need to emphasize that I did not think I was better or smarter than him in any way, and I thought, and still think, he is incredibly smart and his company does fascinating work. But he still projected this inferiority complex on me, and it was one of the many things that soured our relationship. He was obsessed with feeling smarter than me and bringing me down a peg. The relationship ran its course within a year and the breakup was messy, but he insisted on remaining friends despite a lot of obvious tension between us. One day he asked me to help him pick up a moving truck he needed for work and I agreed. But when I got in the car, we were kind of quiet for a couple minutes, so I pulled out my phone and finished the Sudoku game I had up on my browser. For some context, I am incredibly good at Sudoku relative to most people. This is because I obsessively solved Sudoku puzzles as a kid and just had a big book of them to solve on long bus rides to school, and it's still my go-to game to play while waiting in line, going to the bathroom, etc. I don't really correlate this with intelligence. My brain is just trained to recognize the patterns and solving them is soothing. He looked over and saw I was playing and asked what app I played on. I said I just play on a certain website I like, and then when he asked why I don't use a Sudoku app, I tried to be as neutral as possible in my response and said that the website had a nice spread of difficulty and that every app I tried had either been all too easy or too hard. Admittedly, it's almost always too easy, but because of aforementioned inferiority complex, I was hedging this on purpose. He had a kind of, "Oh, really?" response and insisted I try the app he has on his phone because he was sure I would find it hard. So I maliciously complied. I opened up the hardest setting of the puzzle in his app and solved it in about a minute, beating the record on his phone by at least a minute and a half. I showed it to him and he seemed alarmed and basically said I got lucky. So I played several more times so that my times flooded the fastest times list until his were all gone. His shock and frustration at this was satisfying on its own, but many months later, when I had long forgotten about it, he randomly sent me a screenshot of his puzzle in that app with a faster time, except it was for the easiest puzzle setting. So of course, to be petty, I immediately downloaded the app, played on the easiest setting, beat his time by a significant margin again, and sent a screenshot. Was this mean? Maybe. Was it satisfying? Yes. My wife embarrassed everyone during our son's birthday dinner. For starters, I just want to say we do have money and don't have a need to save money. My wife, 42 female, currently works as a part-time nurse. I, 42 male, work in the local police department as a detective. We have 2 kids, a son who's 12 and a daughter who's 13. My wife has started wanting to save money and it's starting to annoy the kids. An example, we were giving the kids $10 each week for allowance, but my wife decided that $10 was too much and lowered it to $3. I've told her that I think the allowance amount is too low, but she disagrees. Another example is that she will buy meals to bring to the restaurant to be microwaved. We've gotten looks before and it's always turned down. It results in her making a fuss and will be asked to leave. I've told her that she needs to stop and that when we go out, I'm fine with her ordering whatever she wants. I normally pay for the groceries, the bills, and the food when we go somewhere to eat. My wife helps with small payments and will buy our kids cheap clothing. My daughter does like to wear designer clothing, and I normally will buy the clothes and then hear about it from my wife. My son was turning 12 and he wanted to eat at one of his favorite steakhouses. I did ask that my wife not bring any of her meals along to the restaurant. We arrived at the restaurant and sat down at the table. My wife gets up to use the bathroom and we order our drinks. When the drinks arrive, we give the waiter what we want to eat and my wife orders a small salad. The waiter comes back over with a meal and says, "Ma'am, we can't heat this up for you." I see my son and daughter both look embarrassed and I apologize to the waiter. My wife spends the rest of the dinner staying silent and wouldn't touch the salad she ordered. When the evening was over and we got home, my wife and I began to argue about the evening. I told her that she was in the wrong for bringing a meal when I asked her not to. She started to argue back that eating at restaurants is a waste. I then said, "Well, you embarrassed everyone, including our kids." She asked me to leave the room and I'm now staying in the guest bedroom. Am I the jerk for telling my wife she embarrassed everyone during son's birthday dinner? Not the jerk, but she sounds mentally unwell, frankly. Has she had a physical exam lately? This behavior is not normal. I was thinking that she may have some debt that she doesn't want to talk about and is trying to save money to pay it off. You'd think a detective would be able to get to the bottom of it. OP didn't say he was a good detective. Not the jerk. Your wife is unwell. There's something on her mind, something bothering her deeply, and it's causing her to nickel and dime everything that she comes across. She needs to talk to someone professionally to get to the bottom of it. Not the jerk. You're a detective. Investigate your finances and why she has recently become so weird about money. It's not normal to take her own food to restaurants. I worked in restaurants for over 10 years, and you are never allowed to bring your own food in, at least in the US. Not the jerk, but your wife is acting odd. Is it possible she's hiding a major debt from you? Any chance she would be laid off soon? You should ask her just how much she wants to save, and if you haven't by now, check all of your financial accounts to make sure she didn't drain them and all of this odd behavior isn't an attempt to replace it before you notice. Professor made me write my entire final project in ICU. So back in early December, I started to feel sick. Not sick, but I had not been able to eat a lot and lost around 8 kilograms of weight in 10 days. I will admit that I am overweight and was kind of happy that I just magically dropped weight. I was blaming it on too little rest. I just didn't get used to the food here in the US. I came here from another country for college. Or I might have digestive problems, might need to check them out. It was on the 13th that everything just suddenly went downhill. I woke up exhausted, sweating, and not being able to eat anything other than drinking bottles of water. It lasted for the entire day until 10 p.m., and I started to feel like I was about to pass out, so I went to an ER nearby with my roommate. Well, in short, I had caught it, as well as a certain life-threatening thing going on. I'm not going to name it, but some of you might be able to tell from above. I immediately had a bunch of IVs put in and was moved to one of the ICUs. I lost consciousness as soon as I arrived in the ICU and didn't wake up until the next morning, and for the next 48 hours or so, I've been slipping in and out of consciousness. My doctor wanted me to sit in a chair instead of laying down all day, so pretty much all day I was just passed out in a chair. I can vaguely remember dropping my phone on the floor, and I didn't even have the energy to pick it up. Now, all of that was the build-up. On the third day, when I finally felt better, I went on my school portal and saw a new message from one of my professors telling me that I'm late for turning in my essay for the final project. I know I had the essay 80% completed and it was in my laptop, which was packed and sent to a friend's place by my roommate, because we were moving out of our dorm room at the time. And that friend happened to be out of town in New York celebrating New Year. And even if my roommate got the laptop somehow from my friend's place, they wouldn't have been able to hand it to me because I had caught it and they didn't allow visiting. So yeah, everything was messed up. I explained the entire situation to the professor in a long, fully written out message and they never responded. Fast forward a few days, the professor contacted me again, this time via email, to ask about my assignment. Their entire message was like, "OP, where's your project?" I was triggered. I was mad. Well, to be honest, I wasn't in my best mental state because of what happened the past few days. So I pasted my entire message that I sent to her in my email responding to that, just in case she hadn't read it in the school portal website. She went something like, "Well, too bad. I'm going to have to fail you on this project, because it has been assigned 2 weeks ago, and you should have done it then." Ma'am, I could have totally finished it before the deadline if I wasn't in ICU and in a coma for 2 days without my laptop. The doctors ended up deciding to keep me for a few more days after I'm no longer in danger, and did I make good use of that? I asked for a bunch of paper that, of course, had the hospital's name printed on them. I wrote my entire essay, again, by hand, on them. When you write the same piece of text the second time, trust me, it becomes way easier than the first time. I made sure to write as neatly as I could, trying my best to guilt them in every way possible. Then, as I promised in my response, I took a picture of it, making sure that I accidentally included my hand that's swollen with the IV plugged in and a bit of my hospital robe, they call it a Johnny, and sent it away. I sent the assignment to them on December the 17th. Not until yesterday, way after the semester has ended, that they called and kinda sorta apologized. "I was too busy to check my messages because finals have been coming up, so I barely looked at your explanation, blah blah blah." I've no idea where they got my number, but fine, I'll take it. As of now, I have decided to gap the spring semester and go back to my home country for a bit. My health has been greatly affected by what happened, and going back home to take some rest might be good for me. I also get to spend some time with my mom, who has been very anxious since the first day I had the medical incident. The end. Now that I think about it, I could have typed it on my phone, but what's the fun in that? Especially when I have 72 free hours with nothing good to do other than watching TV news all day. This reminds me of the Reddit story where the OP had to go to a medical appointment, and when their boss insisted on them attending a Zoom meeting, they did, on a trolley and wearing a hospital gown. AT&T Partner Store tried to steal from me, asked me if I wanted to call customer retention, and I complied. This happened a couple of days ago in Hollywood, Florida. I traded up my phone for the holidays on AT&T's website and arranged a pickup in my nearest store. The receipt I had for the pickup said that the phone was being held until December 30th, so I go in on the 29th to pick it up. I needed to get to work, and I wasn't going to be available to leave work during business hours, so it had to be then. I was hoping the whole process would take 15 minutes. It didn't. I get there, and the individual, Alan, tells me that my phone wasn't available because I had waited too long and they had canceled my pickup, even though I had until the next day to do so. I show him the email that says that, and he shrugs his shoulders and he says that they canceled the order because they counted the day I placed the order as one of the days towards cancellation, which is obviously stupid. Then he offers to sell me the phone that I was trying to pick up because it's impossible for me to pick up the phone that was being held for me. I just want my phone, so I agree to go through the purchase process, and as it turns out, I will have to pay for the phone again and let AT&T refund the funds to the original order. Major BS, but again, this is all the time I have to pick up my phone. I asked him for the phone number for someone I can speak with about what is going on, and he tells me I need to speak to customer retention and gives me a phone number he pulls off a list. So he goes through the process, and by then I'm late for work. And he tells me he's having problems selling me the last unit of the phone I wanted to purchase. He then tries to upsell me. I tell him that I want the darn phone I ordered, and he tells me that he's having some trouble because the system is not letting him sell that unit. It's the last unit he has, so he needs to take extra steps to sell it to me. So now he goes on his phone and makes some phone calls to try and unlock this unit. Meanwhile, he leaves me alone long enough to find out that the phone number he gave me was BS. It led to a non-working extension for AT&T, and it would just stay on hold. I went on Googling and discovered this by finding the actual customer retention phone number and calling it. So now I'm speaking with a customer retention specialist, and I explain to him what is happening over the phone. The retention specialist confirms that, yes, my phone is available for pickup and has not been canceled. Meanwhile, on his phone, I can hear Alan speaking with someone at AT&T, and the person he's speaking with says over the speakerphone, "I can't allow you to sell that phone. It's being held until tomorrow for customer pickup." So I asked the person on Alan's phone to repeat that and confirmed that yes, Alan was trying to sell me the phone that I had already purchased and was there to pick up. Then I asked the customer retention person I'm speaking with if he heard the other individual's comment. The customer retention rep confirms that he heard what the other AT&T rep has said, and the retention rep asks me to confirm the store number I'm located at and the name of the person I'm speaking with. At that point, Alan, upon realizing I'm speaking with customer retention and retention heard everything he's trying to do with my phone, tells me to leave the store and tells me he's going to call the police if I don't. Customer retention rep on the phone hears him kick me out of the store. So I didn't get my phone that day, but I did have it delivered to my house next day UPS, which was nice. And I did get to have a conference call with a regional manager from AT&T, along with a supervisor at customer retention and a manager for third-party dealer locations, while the customer retention specialist confirms everything I was telling them. I didn't get my phone that day, but I did ruin someone else's, and that was way more satisfying. Edit. Dispute over ownership of a property during a sale is not a police issue. If I had waited for them and refused to leave, they would not have taken my side. They would have arrested me. Ownership of a paid-for item at worst is a civil court issue, and no cop is going to arrest some dude at an AT&T store for not giving me my phone unless he had lifted it out of my pocket. Please stop suggesting I should have waited for the police. I was already on the phone with corporate and late for work. I went to an AT&T store to trade in 2 phones. The salesman takes the phones, says they're worth X amount of money towards a new phone, then I purchase 2 new phones and settle up. Fast forward to when it's time to pay the bill. The bill is now 4 times as high as what it's been for years. The salesman changed my phone plan to the most expensive unlimited plan with hotspot and other crap I don't have a need for, added an extra phone line even though I don't have an extra phone, and sold an Android smartwatch under my account. It took many phone calls, but the jerk got fired. The store manager told me that wasn't the first time he had done something like that in order to gain more commission. I also got a couple months of free service. Makes you wonder how many times he has pulled this stunt. I'm guessing if he can convince the customer to cancel their online order and repurchase the phone in-store, it counts towards his sales quotas. The only reason it didn't work this time is because the only stock he had was the one being held for your order. Made my ex-boss lose $25,000 on his salary. I used to work at a Wendy's as a manager. It was already a crappy job, but my general manager was nice, and most employees were easy to deal with. All this started when I was already working about 65 hours a week. I was offered a $100 bonus to work one of my only days off. I decided to do it, and later that week, before I had even been paid, I was asked to come in again. I said this time I would like $150, as at this point I had worked almost 23 days without any days off. They said they'd do it, so I went in. Cut forward 3 weeks. I'd been asking about my money for a while now. I'm told by my general manager that I could speak to my district manager as he would be in later that night. The conversation goes like this. Me: "Hey, do you know what's going on with the bonus? I'm owed $250 with both the days." District manager: "Well, that's why I came here. The store has been having trouble making money." So basically he's telling me that my performance isn't good enough. At this point, I'm working dinner rush and the whole night with me and 3 others, my girlfriend, best friend, and other friend that has grown close. District manager: "Your shift isn't making as much money as others, and your drive time is higher." Me: "Well, we're doing all we can. It takes extra time when we only have half the number of people with the same amount of customers." District manager: "That's really no excuse." Me: "When am I going to receive my bonus?" My DM was a very sheepish man, so he is very obviously scared when he tells me this. District manager: "We cannot give you a bonus until the revenue rises and drive time goes down." I'm speechless at this point. The rest of the conversation was a blur. I grew up on the south side. You don't mess with people's money. A day passes. I've had time to collect myself and speak to my entire crew. Everyone agrees to walk out with me, so I call my district manager. The phone starts to ring, but then it cuts off. He declined my call. So I called him again and again and again. Finally, I just leave him a voicemail. Me: "Look, Jacob, you need to talk to me. You have until 8:45 to call me back or all of my night crew is done." At this point, it's 7:30. I go into my office and start watching my boss's email. She leaves it open and logged in. I figured he would probably email her before calling me. Around 20 minutes of watching this email, and boom, an email pops up. "Emergency, Lonnie." This idiot put my name on the email, so of course I read it. Long story short, in the email, it was him trying to make sure my general manager was going to be ready to go to work. AKA, he wasn't going to call me or give me my money. So I get all my people together and we walk out, leaving everything out. All the meat, all the toppings, the fryer, everything. The next day I turn in my keys. About a week later, I'm called by my brother. Me: "What's up?" Brother: "Jacob lost all of his stores. He has to go back to Indiana." My brother worked at the store as well. If you don't know, district managers' pay is based on the amount of stores they have and how much they make. When he moved to Indiana, his wages got reduced for $65,000 to around $40,000. All this for $250. Looks like Jacob doesn't know how to listen. You said in your voicemail all of night crew would be walking out, and it sounded like he thought he'd only have to send in your GM to cover the shift. If he wasn't satisfied with the numbers that a shift manned by 4 people did, what the heck did he expect to do with a shift manned entirely by 1 person? What Jacob should have done was pay you what was promised out of his own pocket. Now he gets to not only enjoy going back to the middle of what sounds like nowhere, but he gets to do it with a pay cut. Am I the jerk for deleting my newborn son's Instagram? My wife, 30 female, and I, 33 male, are what they call a low profile when it comes to social media. We both have accounts on most of the most famous platforms, but we post very little. I personally always had a stupid prejudice about people who record every step of their life, but I respect it. I don't spew hate on anyone for that reason or any other. Recently, my wife and I were born a baby. During pregnancy, we agreed that it is ridiculous to post several photos a day of the kid or to create exclusive social networks for this. Until the kid was born, we had very different values about kids' exposure to the internet. To exemplify, when she was pregnant, Clara only posted 2 pictures of her dilated belly. When Daniel was born, Clara posted several pictures of him, which annoyed me, but I didn't say anything. It was a mother who had just given birth, so I considered it normal behavior. But that didn't stop as the weeks passed, and I had to complain. Clara was very upset, said that she loved him very much and that he was the most beautiful baby she had ever seen. I just rolled my eyes. When our baby was 1 month old, Clara announced that Daniel had an Instagram profile. I exploded and said I didn't agree with any of this and asked her to delete it. She said I was being totally unreasonable and the kid was hers, so she would do what she wanted. I said that the kid is also mine and I didn't want so much exposure. We fought and she went to her mother's house. I also went to my mother-in-law's house and slept in the living room. I wasn't going to miss my son's moments because of a stupid fight. She got even more annoyed and we went back to our house, but she refused to talk beyond the essentials to me. A month passed and Clara assured me that she deleted the Instagram, but that she would continue to post at a lower frequency on her own profile. I agreed to this because it was the best middle ground possible. I came across my wife with 20,000 followers, and before I had only 1,000. I thought this was bizarre. I saw her transforming too. It wasn't just pictures and videos of Daniel. She was documenting her routine. I'm not a controlling person, and I'm not going to say what she can or can't do with her own image. The big problem is that I found out she lied to me. I was blocked from my son's Instagram to think it was deleted. When I found out, I took the cell phone from my wife's hand and locked myself in my bathroom. I deleted the profile of almost 30,000 of Daniel's followers while listening to Clara screaming outside. Nothing happened but silence. She won't talk to me. Her mother claims that Clara will develop postnatal depression after all this stress. I think this is all terribly futile, and I start to think I'm a bit of a jerk for caring so much about it. But at the same time, I don't want that kind of life for my son. I don't want Daniel's life living for the sake of being well on camera. I just want him to have a normal childhood. Am I the jerk? Am I the jerk for agreeing to go to a restaurant that only serves spicy food when I can't handle anything spicy? I'm 37, male, and my wife is 35, female. Her birthday was this past weekend, and she wanted to go to this specialty Sichuan restaurant because she is from that region. Sichuan food is known to be really spicy and is a lot more than I can handle. She knows I can't do spicy, and we've been trying to work on my tolerance with her cooking, but it's still not that good. I told her this and suggested we go to a regular Chinese restaurant, but she claimed it's not the same. She said there will be non-spicy options, and at worst, she can ask them to make it not spicy. She clung to me and gave me those cute eyes that I couldn't say no to, so I gave in and agreed. It's her birthday, so I didn't want to ruin her day. Well, turns out I did anyway. We were at the restaurant and the entire menu was in Chinese. They had an English one, but it didn't really tell me what was spicy and what wasn't. I let her order a few dishes. The food came, and it was all spicy. Even the ones she said weren't. I tried to eat it, but I couldn't, so I asked her if she can ask them to make it less spicy. She told me to take it slowly and to eat more rice, but I wasn't enjoying it and asked her again. She got a little huffy, but called the waiter over. The waiter kind of gave me a look, like one of those confused, "why are you here" looks, but took a dish back. It came back out, and it was not as spicy, but still has a kick. I think it was the sauce they're using or something. I told the waiter it's still pretty spicy for me, and the waiter said they can't make it any less spicy than that. My wife was getting embarrassed, I think, because the tables next to us were all looking now. When the waiter went away, I asked her if we can go to another restaurant. She said she didn't want to, since we're already here and we already have food on the table. I may be the jerk here because I started getting frustrated and saying that we've been out all day and I haven't eaten, and now I won't be able to eat because everything is spicy. She told me to just eat the rice and will get something for me after. I got really offended by that and I got up and left. Walked around for a bit to cool down, then came back to see her by our car. She was furious and said I embarrassed her. I said she knew I couldn't handle spicy, and she said I shouldn't have agreed to the restaurant. Am I the jerk for agreeing? In hindsight, I could have probably eaten the dish that came back with a lot of rice, but I wouldn't enjoy it. I don't think I can get used to spicy food. You're the jerk. Your wife is homesick and this was her birthday. You could have just eaten the rice or held out until dessert or get McDonald's afterwards. This seemed really important to her and you made a scene. Come on, dude. You could have planned for this by yes, not agreeing, inviting some additional friends and eating beforehand, or tried to find a compromise. She even told you how to not ruin the evening, but you threw a tantrum. That really wasn't fair here and you owe her an apology. I didn't know my wife hated spicy food when we first started dating. I was a chef at the time and loved making Thai curries. I had her over for dinner on like our second date and I made a pretty spicy green curry. Know what happened? She ate it. She slurped up that spicy food like it was Coca-Cola, took it like a champ. Then she fell asleep on my couch. We've been together for 10 years now. I get it's a cute story, but I'm genuinely wondering why would you make an insanely spicy curry for someone you just met and of who you don't know the spicy level they can handle. Did it become very spicy by accident, or did you want to test her? Because making insanely spicy food for a person you barely know without asking sounds like a recipe for disaster, pun intended, for me. I actually was on your side until the end. You were a great partner to go with her and to play the game. She was a good partner to reorder a dish for you and you gamely try to eat it. Where it all fell apart is the moment you threw a little tantrum. 1. It was your wife's birthday. 2. This was her choice of restaurant for her birthday. 3. Which you agreed to. 4. She tried to accommodate you after you had not only sat down, but ordered and received your food. 5. She gave you a second reasonable accommodation. Eat the rice. We'll get you something afterwards. And also an implied reason to stay. We've already ordered. This was my choice. I'm still hungry and I still want to eat. And if any day should be about me, it's today, and you're making it about you. 6. You then got frustrated, pitched a fit, got up and left, and didn't come back until she was at the car, probably waiting for you, on her birthday. Yeah, you're the jerk.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.